What is up, Exiles? I'm back again with another build. This time around, I'm playing with the Glacial Lance with the Deadeye Ascendancy. I wanted to really make a build with a spear without using Lightning Spear, so I settled with Glacial Lance. The special interaction I'm using for this build is the Ricochet. So what happens with Ricochet is if we fire Glacial Lance, it has a chance on chaining on terrain. However, it doesn't chain by itself. If you just shoot it like that, there would have to be a nearby enemy for the chain to register. Otherwise, you're just going to be shooting Glacial Lance on terrains and it's not going to be chaining. There's no enemy. So Frost Wall is considered an enemy. It is registered as an enemy. So for example, I'm going to use this to show you the interaction real quick. Right now, I have my Glacial Lance at 98% chaining off of terrain. It's gonna be like that. Boom, boom, put it down. It's just gonna be chaining like that. And the really cool thing about this interaction is if you have a frenzy charge, let's take a look at the skill real quick. If you have a frenzy charge, this spear will cause an explosion. And an interesting interaction is if you fire the skill and you have a frenzy shot, and since the chain is coming in from the same projectile, the explosion will then be registered on the chaining projectile, which I found pretty cool. So I thought I should make a build around that. I am using a tangle tongue spear for this build, but I didn't want to use the chicken feet staff. I don't know what it's called. The one that drops from Arbiter. I opted out on that because I wanted to just use the threaded light woven focus with the spirit stacking. And yeah, I mean, the damage has been pretty good so far. Again, this is not a fully realized, fully optimized build yet because I just really wanted to theory craft the bouncing mechanics on Ricochet and Glacial Lance, and I've had fun, really fun actually. I started from level 1 as a ranger, so I don't even have full ascendancy yet. But yeah, there's no really special interaction aside from Ricochet. We're just using regular heralds here and frenzy charges. I'll go over the items real quick. So for weapon, I have a okay tangle tongue here. Would be great if I get 2 sockets. For rune, I'm using the gain 6% of damage as extra damage of all elements because I am using a double herald and I'm using Herald of Ice to shock, so gaining lightning damage is really good. And then I'm using Herald of Thunder for freezing and whatnot. The reason why I use the shock on Herald of Ice is because I'm using Coursing Current. Shocking hits from supported skill have a 50% chance to also shock enemies that's nearby. I use that. Why? Because when I'm mapping, I'm actually using the support gem, Storm Chain, and I put it there. So I just get more Storm Chain. Since this is not going to shock, we're relying on Herald of Ice to shock. And I basically put Ice Bite on Herald of Thunder, so for when it freezes, we can proc the Ice Bite, like extra damage. But when you are bossing, you just kind of want to switch that out, so you get that huge damage gain when bossing. Helms, I went for Crown of Ice. You can see my Crown of Ice is pretty shitty, but yeah, this enables our spirit stacking with threaded woven light focus. So you can see I have a max roll on the spell damage per 10 spirit. Yeah, that's a decent, it's actually a pretty good gain on or increased on the spell damage, because since we're doing crit, we're also close to these nodes right here, which gives us bonus spell damage if we're wielding a melee weapon, which comes in our spear. That's melee. But yeah, that's it. And I use Tangle Tongue just because of the high crit chance. It's really good. You're just consistent on landing crit hits, increasing damage, and proccing your cast on crit. But aside from that, the other item I'm using here is Beacon of Asis Solar Amulet. It's really good for this build at least because of the critical hits, ignoring elemental resistances, and we get like 40 spirit. That's about 48 more increased on our attack damage, right? Because of Crown of Ice. And then for the ring, I just went for Adventurer's Gamble here, so it could help me get more spirit and also help me give more resist. If I press this real quick, so you can see, it's very shitty, my resistances, but I've been doing okay since like level 65. As you can see, some of my gear here I've had equipped since very low levels. So, but yeah, there's still room for you to max all your resistances. I'm just not doing it because I'm lazy, and I've had my fun with this build and I want to move on along. But yeah, I use this to get a little bit more of resist, and with the spirit is pretty good. You can also go with the ring with flat damages. They will just be as good, but the extra spirit here makes me run actually cast on critical with combat frenzy. If not, I would just have to run cast on freeze, but without the combat frenzy. And combat frenzy is pretty good for the uptime on our frenzy charges. Anyways, the other ring here I have is just flat damage and mana regen to help me not run out of mana, basically. But the flat damage is great if you're looking at damage, because flat damage is basically gain damage in equivalent. If you're playing like a caster, and then you look for wands with the gain percent of elemental damage, flat damage to attacks is an equivalent of that. So imagine that as gain damage as well. But yeah, that's what I'm using for the ring. And then I'm just using a headhunter belt because why not? It's not required. You can even just put a belt with resist, help you even more with capping it. But yeah, my boots, it's just mediocre level 56 boots. And then I have my level 65 gloves here. So you can see it's just flat damage with some resist. You can even opt out on the critical damage bonus if you're lacking resist, but nothing special. Very mid gear right here. And then my spirit, my body armor right here is just 60 spirit with resists. I would love this to be an evade body armor. Same with the boots and the gloves, because we are using Tailwind. Tailwind gives us more evasion on stack, and I'm using Wind Dancer, which gives more evasion on stack as well. But yeah, just very mid gear here, doing pretty good damage already. I'm sure that if I push this build a bit more, I'm gonna be able to get more damage, and this is not even the damage that it actually does because of some of the nodes that we have on the tree and the damage increases we have when we're freezing and when we're stacking Tailwind. Because for example, I go over here, just cast a skill, you see it's gaining damage. So I saw this actually going up until like 80,000 when I'm mapping. So just keep that in mind. That's not your full damage. You're going to be doing more. And if you look real quick, Explosion does 64,000 damage right now. So with the damage increases and all that, that's even going to do more damage. For bossing, I'm not using the barrage mechanic as much as I would like to, just because I'm also lazy just clicking that button. What I do instead is I run Solar Orb for the Ignite, because I am running a Megalomaniac with Harness the Elements, which is this. It gives us just 15 increased damage for each type of elemental ailment on the enemy. But I believe if you have a Megalomaniac for thin ice, this would also be good, because instead of getting the 45 increase for having chill, shock, and ignite, you get a 50% increase, and you also get more freeze buildup. So I think this is a better Megalomaniac. I'm not using it for anoint, because for my anoint I do have storm charged, which is a really really good. It's a really really good anoint just because of that 40% increased elemental damage. I also didn't want to use Trinity because I didn't want to go through the trouble of trying to maximize the 3 stacks. I think it's just a lot of work if you want to tweak the build that way. But yeah, and things will just get more expensive if you want to start running it. First of all, it would require you the chicken leg staff, which I didn't want to run. So yeah, I'm just rocking it with these. But yeah, like I said, there's no like big special interaction here. It's just the ricochet mechanic. It's just the bouncing off the walls. But yeah, I'll go over quickly my passive tree here. If you've seen my previous video, I am a glass cannon type of guy when I like to make builds. So if that's also your playstyle, then great. This could be a good build idea for you if you want to copy it or just get an inspiration from it. But yeah, it's pretty basic here. We're just taking as much of the damages that we can. Projectile damage, vile wounds, because we have elemental ailments, crit, elemental damage. I'm taking this exploit because we are not using the deep tower and we're not getting the low life nodes. So our bonus damage comes from these basically. So aside from crit increasing our damage, it would be the increased damage with hits with elemental ailments. Same thing with harness the elements. That's what it does. But yeah, aside from that, I just took projectile stuff and attack speed nodes. Attack speed nodes because not running attack speed nodes will make your attack on Glacial Lance incredibly slow. Like, it's so slow, you probably wouldn't even want to play it. And it feels shitty. I had more fun with just the fast attacks on it. I've had pretty good success with it. Been playing this build for like 1 day in endgame, and I'm just at 87 right now. If I was max resists and not dying, I probably would have been level 90 already. But yeah, after I got off of campaign, it's just easy peasy. It's just breezing through maps, leveling. But yeah, the most important node I take here though are these clump right here, the projectile damage, and most importantly, the projectiles have chance to chain off of terrain. Same thing at the bottom here. That's what I took, chance to chain off of terrain. So you're not going to get a lot of chances with just these nodes, because this, you have 5%, and you have another 10%, that's 15. You have another 5, that's 20, and then 35 with that. So with the Glacial Lance, we do have the Ricochet support gem, which gives us 40% more. So that makes it 75%. So you want it as high as you could, so that you just have a consistency of chaining off the walls. If it's below 80 or below 90, I feel that it doesn't chain as often. But if you're above 95%, that's when you really feel the difference, and you'll see more bouncing on the walls with Glacial Lance. I fixed that with just jewel sockets. Nothing special here. I have 98% right now, but yeah, you just try to get the max rolls on the chance to chain from terrain, which is 5%, and then just get projectile damage, elemental damage, and attack speed, and you're basically good to go. If you're lacking crit or you want more crit damage, you can also do that, but things start to get expensive. But yeah, so So you can see here, it's just that chance to chain from terrain, chance to chain from terrain. And I'm running a timeless diamond here, which is pretty good in my opinion. You could probably get a better one. I just got this one because of corrupted blood, because I was doing my ascendancies and I didn't want to deal with corrupted blood in chaos trials. But yeah, it's also just the same thing. Projectiles have a 2% to chain. 2% chance to chain, but that's for all the notable passives over here. But yeah, um, I'm level 87. I'm trying to currently work on this maximum charge so I can have more explosions. But at the moment, I think I'm done with the build. I've had my fun with it. That's it for now. Thanks for tuning in again. And this is just a really quick build and just showing you what I was working with. Boom. Boom. Peace.